After a months-long back and forth with the federal government, Jeffco Public Schools is now suing the Trump administration. It comes after the Department of Education challenged the district's policies surrounding transgender students. Our legal expert Whitney Traylor joins us now with more on that. So in the great way that you do, break this down for us. Why are they suing exactly?
Well, thank you. No, this is really a school district going on the offense before they get defunded or sued. And I think, honestly, they're using home field advantage by filing here in Colorado. So this case really boils down to whose policy actually should govern the Jefferson County School District, because the Title IX traditionally says if you're receiving federal funding in education, you can't discriminate against women. And then the state has a policy that says transgender identity, you can't discriminate based on gender identity, and if there's separate facilities, the students get to choose based on their gender identity. Well, the Trump administration and the Department of Education sent a letter and said, you can't have that policy, and you need to have this policy saying that, biological boys and biological girls are separated, and if not, we're going to withhold federal funding.
So part of what the district is saying is, A, we don't have any students that are doing this already. You're confused, but they're saying, do we follow state law or federal law? And you said they're smart to file this in Colorado, this case.
They're smart to file in Colorado because a judge in Jefferson County has already looked at this issue and ruled in favor of the district on another case. Now, that's not binding precedent, but that means that these courts are already leaning towards that. And the fundamental issue is the federal government, were they allowed to change the policy the way they did? Because this is an administrative agency, the Department of Education. Before they can change their rules, they have to give a notice, a public notice, and allow the public to comment. So, and this happens all the time. And so here, they didn't do that. They simply wrote essentially a demand letter and said, you have to comply with this or we're going to pull money.
So is this, no lawsuit's ever simple, but is this going to be simply a choice between what law do we follow? Is this states' rights or is this the federal government jumping in? How does this, will it be, will it just be summarily dismissed or is there going to be a bigger thing here?
It's a jurisdictional pandemonium, really. Yeah. You have the Department of Education policy, you have the state law, then you have this previous judge ruling that way. So really, if it goes to trial, so they filed this lawsuit to get on the offense and to say to the court, you tell us what the law is. Did they comply or not before they can pull our federal funding? And I think a lot of legal experts will say they didn't comply with the procedural aspect of this law, and it will probably be deemed unlawful.
So then what's your guess, best guess? Does it go to trial? And then, but at the same time, this is all about money. And every school district right now is struggling.
Right, because this is $50 million on the line for Jefferson County. So there's really three things that could happen. The case could settle. The parties could come to a voluntary agreement. I highly doubt that will happen because the Trump administration already stepped away from a settlement conference and issued this demand instead of coming. So settlement is unlikely. Trial, I think, is unlikely because when you go to trial, the jury or the judge is deciding issues of fact. Was the light red? Was it green? Here, there's not a factual dispute. The Department of Education saying, here's our policy. Jeffco saying, here's our policy. And all right, judge, who's right? And so I think it will ultimately be decided on the papers, on the motions. There won't be a trial. And then that will get appealed probably to the Supreme Court. And we'll see if they accept it. Yeah.
It goes on.
Yes.
It goes on.
All right.
This is, yep.
Keeps you in business.
Yes, thanks.
Never a dull moment.
No.